Joining us now to weigh in on the latest with the economy is Steve Moore. He's an economist with the Heritage Foundation and Freedom Works. Steve, let's start with the new information about the growing deficit. The Congressional Budget Office says the U.S. deficit is expected to soar to more than $800 billion over the next 10 years. How will that affect the average American?
Look, I think that's a problem, but I don't think it's the problem. By the way, I don't buy these recession this chorus of recessions by economists. I mean, these are people who've predicted 8 of the last 2 recessions. So I think the economy is still fundamentally very strong. We have almost 8 million more jobs than we have workers. We have the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years, the lowest inflation rate in 50 years, and the highest wage gains in 20 years. That doesn't sound like an economy that's doing poorly to me. In fact, that sounds like a blockbuster economy. Now, has the economy hit a few bumps in the road? Absolutely, yes. And one of those big bumps is what you were just talking about, and that the president mentioned, obviously, is this trade war with China. And I find myself in agreement with Trump that this probably is hurting the economy in the short term, but not enough to send the economy into recession. And once the trade deal gets done, the economy will really boom.
Let's talk a little bit more about that. The president is set to announce new tariffs against China, and he's defending the trade war. Who is being hurt more by this, America or China? Can you break it down for us?
Yeah, well, both countries are hurt, clearly. I mean, the trade war has hurt the United States, but it's clobbered China. The answer to your question is China is getting hurt way more than we are by this. Their economy may be the one that goes into recession. And by the way, they haven't had a recession in 30 years. They had been growing like gangbusters, but now they have factories and warehouses and docks full of merchandise they can't sell. There's a big disinvestment in China right now, which is hurting their economy. Businesses are moving out of China. They're moving to Vietnam. They're moving to India. They're moving to Singapore, other countries, to avoid the tariff. So, China is getting hit hard, and hopefully they will come to their senses, the leaders in Beijing, and say, hey, let's get a deal done. And by the way, a deal on trade would vastly benefit both countries. It would benefit the United States and China. So, but we're dealing with communists. The Communist Party is back in charge in China, and I don't say that with any happiness.
What do you say to the average American? How should they prepare if there is a recession?
Well, again, there's not going to be a recession, but I wouldn't say never. I think the odds are very small on that. Look, first of all, consumers are spending. I mean, I travel all over the country. I take flights. Every flight is completely packed with people with their kids, people with their grandparents. People are, the consumer numbers are just great. We just got new numbers from Target and Lowe's, 2 of our major retailers, where they had, blockbuster sales numbers. So, again, I just don't see this recession that the left is hoping for. But look, if a recession hits, I think that it would be a very temporary thing. It might be, a couple of quarters of maybe negative growth, and people should maybe not be too concerned about it. Don't panic. And I always tell investors, as the stock market falls, which it would do if we went into recession, that's the worst time to sell your stocks because you're selling low. You always want to, buy low and sell high. And sometimes people make the mistake of doing just the opposite.
All right. Economist Stephen Moore, thank you so much for your time and your insights, sir.
Thank you.